Hey, hi, it's Christmas time in California. As you can see, I don't have a lot of snow, so I gotta make my own Christmas spirit. I'm gonna do that by creating some unique Christmas decorations. Now, I saw this done by another YouTuber, and as I watched, I realized I could probably do that a little bit better. So today I'm going to show you my version of what he did. They are going to be giant mini lights for decorating my front porch. And I'll walk you through how I decided to do it and why I think mine are a little bit better than his. So one of the first things I needed to do was get a bunch of these. I needed 12 of them. And drinking 24 liters of soda all at once wasn't really on my plans for the weekend.
There you go, you chug it.
So I just dumped them out. I bought them at the Dollar Tree. The Shasta Cola runs about $1.25 here in my area, and I could just dump them out there. So that's what I did. The second problem that I had was getting these labels off. There are these plastic labels. I just take a razor blade to them. But here's the big problem.
What was that problem, you ask? Well, the problem was that I deleted the footage that I wanted to show you on how I got rid of the label. Essentially what I did was I took a razor blade, slit along the side of the label, peeled it off. Now that left a residue of the label in place that was being held down by glue. I took the razor blade and roughed that area up real well and then used Goo Gone very liberally over the area. After that, scraped on it with a scraper and was able to get all of that residue off of the bottle. Believe me, this was not an easy task and it took me quite a while. So plan to spend some time scraping 12 bottles. But I was finally able to get it done and get on with my build.
Now, I plan on putting a link to this young man's video down below, but the way he did things is a little bit differently than the way I want to do this project. He used 2-liter bottles of soda, which is awesome, that'll work. But what he also did was painted them to make different colors and then placed his lights inside of them painted. And personally, I thought that that was going to create a duller color. The lights will have to be fairly bright to shine through the flat paint on the outside. And not only that, but it won't give me any degree of control over what the color is. And that's really what I wanted. That's the secret sauce. So what I did was found a string of LED lights, and they can be really any color I want them to be. They have a controller. They can be controlled via app as well. So there we go. My string is 12 light bulbs. The next thing that you'll need is frosted glass spray. Again, he spray painted his a flat color. I don't. I want mine to be clear glass that's frosted, and the bulbs will actually create the color. I think that's going to look better. I also bought these 16-ounce cups, and I got them off Amazon. They fit the bottle perfectly, so they will be the green base that the bulb sits in. The next thing you're going to want is pipe insulation. Now, I've already painted this green for the color of the wiring, but it usually comes kind of like a charcoal black, and this is the spongy kind of stuff. There's two different types of pipe insulation. One is very stiff and rigid, and neither my wife or I thought that this would work very well. So, bam, gone. This stuff, a little bit spongier. It bends kind of like real wire. Split down the center with adhesive, so that you can run your actual wiring through it and then seal it up. So again, I've already painted this green because I started in on this and then thought, I should be filming this.
The one thing I forgot to tell you is that I needed a trash can for this project. Medium-sized one, and I looked everywhere for one. Honest. I looked everywhere for one. I could not find it. Apparently it is on Amazon, but I couldn't find it around town. So I stole my son's, of course, and then painted it green to disguise my crime.
Now, the first time I used this glaze, freaked me out because I didn't think it was working. I just kept spraying and spraying and spraying, thinking that it should look a lot more frosted. But in reality, if you let it sit and dry for a while, it becomes a lot more frosted. When it's done, it kind of looks like this. I'm still debating on whether or not to frost it more, but right now it looks pretty good. I'm going to test it with the light bulb and see if that works any better. So I went out to Harbor Freight and picked myself up one of these. It's a hot knife, a heavy-duty hot knife. Harbor Freight sells them for about $30. I can get them on Amazon for about $100, so I saved myself a few bucks. Hopefully, I didn't waste my money and bought something too cheap, but we're gonna try it out right now.
The first thing I did was cut the little tips off of the bottles. I don't necessarily think you have to do this, but I thought it worked a little bit better. And this is where probably a better hot knife would work. The $100 jobbers on Amazon might have cut through this a lot easier than my little Harbor Freight hot knife, but still it worked. Then I came in from the bottom, basically just pushing the hot knife in through the raised areas first and then into the valleys. I wanted to make sure that the hole was just large enough for the light bulb to go through. Now, once I had them all cut up, then what I did was I put another coat of the frosting on the inside of the bottles. I really wanted to make sure that these, when the light hit them, it would diffuse throughout the entire bottle rather than just being a hot spot at the base. So I thought that that extra layer of frosting on the inside would help achieve that. So the next step was to go onto the bases. The first thing I did was cut one of the bases out so that, again, the bulb would fit through it. And then I used that as a template to mark off all of the painted bases. And then I used the hot knife then to again cut my circle into that. The young man that I was watching do this used a little hot X-Acto knife. I think that would probably work a lot better than what I was using, but I didn't feel like buying another tool, so this is what I used.
Okay, I made my prongs out of basically a little thin piece of plywood. I cut it 11 inches by 5.5 inches. Now I gotta cut a hole in there. And then this is gonna be the prongs for the plug-in. Now I generally forget to do this part and I regret it always. But one of the ways to keep your wood from splintering when you're drilling holes in it or cutting it is to put painter's tape on both sides. And that will cut down on your splintering problems. I just grabbed a hole saw that I just happened to have laying around, and I think it looks about right. So much for the painter's tape. So one of these I forgot to put painter's tape on, and one of them I remembered. Can you guess which one? I've done it. That makes me mad. Oh well. I'll make it work.
Now, in reality, you probably want to go with a gold metallic paint for the prongs of the plug, but all I had was silver paint, so that's what I went with. Okay, I want to pause right here and let you know that cutting out the top for that plug was kind of a chore. Isaac Alexander has a really good tutorial on this, and I really recommend that you go take a look at what he did. My plug was even more so of a chore because it was a thick piece of wood. That's all I had in my wood pile at the time, and I didn't feel like going to the store.
Okay, now here's the part where I have to get a little creative, because in the video that I watched, the young man had a little different type of light. His lights actually came to this T-junction and then dropped down a ways and then became the bulb. Mine don't. So I'm gonna have to kind of come up with maybe a little different way of doing it than he did. So one thing my bulbs have that his didn't is this little, let me bring it up here, this little hanger piece here, and that gets into the way. Let me bring that back up here, of this a little bit. It doesn't let it sit completely well with inside there. I think I want to cut some of this off. So if I think I cut a little bit of that off, that will make a difference. So the first thing I want to do is allow a little bit to stick out on the end of this, just in case I want to add another line in later on. I'm just going to run the wire right along my tubing here. Make sure your two ends of pipe insulation are butted together. Now in these areas in which you want two pieces of pipe to come together, the young man I watched utilized a hot glue gun. And I might go that route, but what I think I'm going to try is some contact cement and see if that works better. I think it'll be much more flexible. Usually with contact cement, you want to give it a few minutes before you push the pieces together. Then you just push them together. Now, while that kind of cures together, I'm going to go over here and start bringing these sealed pieces together. And the best way, so these pipe insulation pieces are self-sealing. You just pull this piece apart and stick it together. So it's kind of got its own contact cement already inside. my plan for around the bulbs was to kind of work this together with a zip tie. So unfortunately, this first seam landed right on the bulb, which is kind of giving me a little grief. And I'm just going to kind of work around it. So one thing that he did that I think I'm going to copy there is he used some duct tape. I tried to actually find green duct tape, and for whatever reason I could find every color except green duct tape. Maybe it's because it's the season, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So I'm going to reinforce my seam with some duct tape. Then I'm going to come back and spray paint that. Now, one thing that he had the benefit of doing that I don't is his bulbs were removable. Mine are not. Mine are part of the wiring. So when I spray paint that duct tape to match the green, I'm going to have to be careful not to get any spray paint on my bulbs. All right, so I've got the first wire all done. Now, whenever you have a string of lights, you always have a second wire. So now that's the next one that I need to get set up. It will not have light bulbs on it, so it may be a little easier for me to seal up. Okay, now what I should have done with the other set was basically cut these so that they overlap a little bit. I'm still trying to figure out how I could do it, but rather than butt them straight up together, I think that if I cut it so that it overlaps a little bit, and then these pieces of adhesive that's already on here will actually join the two pieces together along with the glue. But I think that would actually work better, and so I'm going to try that out. We'll see how it works. Okay, if I goof this up, well, I'm going to be out some money, probably about 12 bucks, but we'll see how it goes. I want to cut this here and then here like that. Now this piece is going to be an equal amount, so right about there. Cut it there, then down the center here, like that. Now then, these two pieces should come together just like that. Okay, I rigged up a stand for my lines, and you can see where some of the areas just got a little bunged up. during the process. I'm just going to repaint those. I'm going to get these segments painted. All right, so here I have a little bunged up area that needs to be touched up. And of course I have to get my tape here done. So what I want to do is protect this bulb. The method I devised was basically just covering it in a Ziploc bag and going to town.
All right, this part I just pretty much eyeballed, set up my prongs on the plug top and marked them off with a marker. I used those markings to route out some grooves so that those prongs would sit down inside there. Then I glued them into place. And used some L brackets to make them solid.
Now once my cords dried appropriately, I twisted them together. And then to keep that twist going, I every once in a while put a zip tie in them, and that should keep my twist in place. So what I want to do on the end here, unfortunately I got this one bulb right on the end, which is kind of a bummer. But what I want to do here is cram my line into the plug portion of it. On the inside, what I want to do is run a couple of zip ties around the inside. That's just to kind of hold it in place, so it doesn't want to slip out. Now on the bucket, I need to put my plug in place. There you go. Let's set that in. Now then I want to take some screws and run them in to hold this in place. So the idea is to hot glue one of these to your bulb, and you'll be gluing it to both the wire and the wire and getting it firmly in there, and then the bulb portion will go over the top just like that.
Now here is the finished product, and I gotta say they look fantastic. One of the benefits of using this type of LED light as opposed to what Isaac Alexander used is that I can control each individual bulb using an app on my iPhone. So I can make this look like Christmas lights. I can make the lights vary in color and intensity, but I can also make these look like 4th of July lights and make them all red, white, and blue. They're very versatile this way. Okay, here's a couple of takeaways from my build. First off, I liked Isaac's cord on his lights. In other words, that little bit of a space between the cord and the bulb itself. I think that lends toward a little bit more authentic look. I probably would have put more coats of green on my bases. Oftentimes the light would shine right through the bases, and even with a couple of coats. Isaac said 2 coats, but to be honest with you, I think it probably more like 4. The other thing is that the LEDs that I got were not super bright, and while they look really good in the pictures and they don't look too bad at all on my porch, they are not as bright as I would have liked them to be. But I love the way that they change colors, so it was a pretty good trade-off. So if you're thinking about making a project like this, I hope I helped you out a little bit. I do like the color changing aspect of my lights as opposed to Isaac's lights, and it's possible that Isaac's turned out a little bit better. He does have a little bit better tutorial than I do, so certainly give him a view. Thank you very much for watching.